Namely, that antidepressants often do not do what they promise and are in fact causing harm to many.
Dr. Steve Hotze is suing over Obamacare's employer mandate.
It's time for a wellness revolution. Brought to you by Hotze Health Wellness Center. Honest discussion on maintaining health and wellness naturally to enjoy a better quality of life.
He's the doctor fighting to let you keep your doctor.
Now, Dr. Stephen Hotze.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us at Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution. I'm Stacey Banfield with Dr. Stephen Hotze, founder of the Hotze Health Wellness Center.
Thank you so much, Stacey, and thank each one of you for joining us today on Wellness Revolution. We are leading a wellness revolution that is going to change the way men and women mature in age so they enjoy a incredibly vital, enthusiastic, energetic life. And this can be for anybody. You may be sick and tired right now at 19 or 20. You may be in your 30s or 40s, 50s or 60s. There's a reason you feel unhealthy, the reason you have symptoms, and it's not due to low level of pharmaceutical drugs. It's because your body is either not producing enough hormones, you're eating the wrong kind of foods, you're exposed to toxins in the foods, the air you breathe, what you drink, and the lotions you lather on your body. You got lifestyle changes that you need to make. Maybe you drink too much, or maybe you smoke. Maybe you're under a lot of stress. Maybe you're in a bad relationship. Maybe you've got bitterness in your heart. There are a lot of reasons that people feel sick and tired, but it's not due to low levels of drugs in your bodies. Now, let me tell you, we talk about Texas weather, and one thing you can say about Texas summers, they're hot
and humid
and brutally hot. So it may be 100 degrees, but if the humidity is 95, you've got 110 or 115 degree heat index, as if it was 115. It's like being in the Sahara Desert. And that heat can wreak havoc on an individual. It can cause a heat stroke or heat exhaustion. And that's when your body gets too hot. You have an area of your brain called the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is a small area of your brain, in the center of your brain, which produces hormones that govern the pituitary gland, which govern your thyroid hormones and your sex hormones and your adrenal hormones. When you have a heat stroke, the hypothalamus is the controlling hormonal regulator in your body, and it gets whacked. And so when you have a heat stroke, you can't control your body's temperature. All of a sudden, you lose the ability to sweat. And when you're exposed to high temperatures for a long time, the heat can't be released properly, and this burns up the hypothalamus. And it requires immediate attention. If you've ever known anybody that's had a heat stroke, you've got to get them to the hospital right away. You've got to get them on fluids. You've got to put them in an ice bath. You've got to cool them down. Now, interestingly enough, and tragically as it is, statistics are 25% of people that have a heat stroke die within the first year. They cannot function at all. It affects their brain, their thinking. It can affect their lungs. It can destroy their kidneys. It whacks their hormonal system, totally whacks them out, so that they just can't function well. John Batla is a guest of ours at the Hotze Health Wellness Center. He is a citizen of the city of Columbus, Texas. And it wasn't founded by Christopher, I don't think, was it?
No, it sure was. Stephen F. Austin, a big.
There you go. So John grew up in the Columbus area, and he underwent a heat stroke, which almost killed him. And I want John to tell a story. John Batla. This is an amazing story. I'm going to tell you what you're getting ready to hear from this man is incredible. It's the best story we've had ever. And I've been on the radio now. I'm in my 14th year of radio programming. This is the best story, the most incredible turnaround I've ever seen.
No pressure, John.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hotze. I tell you what, now I hope I can deliver. Let me tell you, I've never been on the radio like this before or anything, but anyway, I'd like to explain a little bit about myself so you can kind of get an idea of who I am. I'm 57 years old, and which I will be 57 in February next year, so I'm already kind of past that. So I consider myself 57. But anyway, the thing is, I'm in my prime and 240 pounds and strong, and I'm speaking right now as I am. And anyway, I just I feel phenomenal. But that's not the way it always was. And I'll tell you what, it's been a real problem in my life and stuff. But anyway, the thing is, my family is from a Czech German background, and physical hard work is all we've ever known. And as I speak right now, I have a little over 22 businesses and 6 corporations, and it's all due to hard work. All I have is a high school education.
Now, wait a minute. Let's just stop for a second. You have how many businesses?
22.
22. Okay, I thought I heard that right. All right.
Well, you're giving the end of the story first.
Well, what I'm trying to do is I'm saying this up front, so this way when I'm telling my story, they're gonna say, "Golly, maybe I can do this."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason I'm putting this up front.
Okay.
And that way it gives everybody a little bit of an idea of what's going on. Okay. So anyway, like I said, and everybody has obstacles in their life, and it can be, tragedy, whatever it may be. And so you have to fight. But the thing is, in my life, I went through lots of bad things. And one thing I went through was a tragic divorce, which that really knocked me on my back. And, that's just one thing.
What year was that?
That was in 1987.
And where did you end up living after that?
Well, for a while there, I kind of went, to different places, whatever. But it was in 1998 and 99, I ended up homeless in a tent for 2 years with my daughter when she was 14 years old.
And where were you living?
Well, I was living just on the outskirts of Columbus, and a good friend of mine's, it was his tent yet on his property. His name is Tom Stallman, which is also on the program here at Dr. Hotze, at the Hotze Health Wellness Center.
And so you were there right beside the Colorado River, and where'd you bathe for 2 years?
Well, sometimes it's wherever I could, but I'll tell you what, this is one thing I told my daughter. Now, this is the main thing. I told my daughter, I said, honey, let me tell you something. She was a freshman in high school, and I had her on the weekends and stuff. I picked her up. I made sure I was a daddy. I devoted my life to her. So I didn't date for 22 years or anything like that, just so I could, so people can understand where I'm coming with this. Well, the thing is, like many a times, I bathed more times in that Colorado River than you can ever imagine. And I will tell you, you got to use Ivory soap because you got to throw it upriver with the stream coming down. So that way when you're soaping up, the bar of soap is coming back at you. But anyway,
when we come back off the break, we're going to find out how John Batla, after living in a tent for 2 years, got out and got on the right track.
It is an amazing story. And if you're listening to this and you're just feeling low energy and feeling sick and tired, then please feel free to go ahead and call one of our wellness consultants at 281-698-8698. Again, 281-698-8698. They'll be more than happy to send you a complimentary copy of Dr. Hotze's book, Hormones, Health, and Happiness. Please stay tuned to Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution.
Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution, your daily dose of radio reality.
Welcome back to Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution. This is Stacy Banfield with Dr. Stephen Hotze. And if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, there is a natural way to address your health issues. Please call one of our friendly wellness consultants at 281-698-8698 or go to getyourlifeback.com. That's getyourlifeback.com. Dr. Hotze.
Thanks so much, Stacy. Thanks for joining us here on Wellness Revolution. We're leading a wellness revolution. I want you to be part of it. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and you're on a pot full of drugs, I'm going to tell you what, you'll never get well. If you've let a doctor label your symptoms and tell you that's your diagnosis, you'll never get well. Because what he'll want to do is do what the pharmaceutical companies train him to do, and that is to give you their expensive drugs so they can make a profit off you staying sick and tired. If you're sick and tired, you've got an underlying cause for that problem, not a label. If you've got high blood pressure, heart disease, if you've had a heart attack, if you've had a stroke, if you have gastrointestinal disturbances, irritable bowel syndrome, If you got a urinary tract infection, if you got joint pain, rheumatoid arthritis, degenerative arthritis, if you got or know someone with dementia or Alzheimer's disease, if you've got diabetes, if you got cancer, there's a cause for that. And it's not because you don't have a bunch of chemical drugs made by the pharmaceutical companies that poison your body. If you want to get sicker quicker, then treat your symptoms with drugs. If you want to get healthy and well, then you've got to make some dramatic changes. You've got to take charge of your health and do a 180. And John Batla is our guest on the program today. John grew up in Columbus. He's from the hard-working Czech German background, grew up on farms, did hard labor with cattle, did welding, tough. I mean, guys, tough as a boot. I'm just telling you, everybody in Columbus knows Batla. I'll guarantee you that. And he's an amazing, amazing guy, and he's been a guest of ours for 10 years. But John Batla ran into some hard times. His wife ended up leaving him. He was left with his daughter. He went broke. He had $180,000 in debt, and he was so far in debt he couldn't afford a place to live. And his good buddies, Tom Stallman, said, I got a big tent you can live down on the back 40, right by the river. And guess what old John did every day? He bathed in the Colorado River and threw that ivory soap upstream so it floated back to him and didn't go to the bottom of the creek. And he told his daughter, what'd you tell your daughter? How long was it going to take you to get out of the tent?
Well, Dr. Hotze, I'll tell you what, I told my daughter, I said, listen, I said, sweetheart, I said, there's something we got to do. We got to save money if we're going to get ahead. And the thing is, I said, number one, we are not bums. We're broke. I said, bum is a lifestyle. Broke is a temporary situation. Now, I'm thinking temporary is going to be maybe a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. Well, temporary ended up being about 2.5 years. Now, let me tell you, now that's the key to the whole deal. You know, and when you go to tell your personal story, the one thing is that it kind of gets me, it sounds like either you're bragging or you're complaining. I'm not doing either one. What I'm doing is just stating the facts, and what I'm telling you, what I'm fixing to tell you, it's there for you too. And so I want to share that with you, and hopefully I can help you in any kind of way. But anyway, the thing is, I was in this tent for a little over 2.5 years. But at that time, I did not have a heat stroke. I'm hitting on all cylinders. I'm doing pretty good. And I'm working 18 hours a day, only sleeping in that tent 6 to 8 hours a night. That's all I need. I wasn't living in a tent. I was sleeping in that tent. Otherwise, I'm living out in the world, in the field, working. Now, the type of work I started doing, I was back then, well, I'm just a local septic guy. I'm out there cleaning septic tanks, cleaning grease traps at the restaurants and around the county and all. And so anyway, the thing is, we're out there, we are working, and we are working hard. After I got out of made enough money where I finally, believe it or not, saved enough money where I could buy a house and 8 acres. I'm like, boy, I'm in high cotton now. Well, guess what? Right after that, I get a heat stroke. And I'm like, you know, now I've been overheated many times. There's a difference, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, there's a big difference. I ended up in the hospital getting IVs. I'm thinking I'm going to die. Well, so.
As a matter of fact, 25% of the people that have a heat stroke die within the first year. Most of them die within the first 3 months. And the signs of a heat stroke or heat exhaustion, which can lead to a heat stroke, are severe sweating, fatigue, headache, clammy skin, terrible thirst, rapid heartbeat, dizziness, nausea, abdominal cramps, muscle cramps. Your temperature goes up dramatically. You can get up to 102, 103, 104 degrees in terrible weakness. And that tells you the hypothalamus, which is the little part of your brain that governs your hormone levels and your temperature regulation, gets whacked because of the heat. And when that happens, boy, I tell you what, it's a downhill course. So you went to the hospital, and what happened?
So I went to the hospital, and anyway, so spent my time there a little bit and got out. And anyway, and so I'm going back to work. Well, work is not exactly where it was at because I couldn't work. And so as time went on, I went ahead and did the best I could. As long as it was cool, I could do pretty good. But when the summers came, boy, I tell you what, that's when everything went south. I mean, it could get up to like no more than 90 degrees, and then you're having all the symptoms exactly all over again that you just mentioned. Like nauseous, being nauseous, everything, can't sweat, whatever. And I'm drinking plenty of water. But the thing is, it just got to the point that I couldn't take it anymore. and I had an employee working for me, and I sold the business to him. I actually sold it.
What business was that?
This is the septic business and the porta-can business that I was in. I just couldn't take it anymore. And what happened? So I just worked a deal with him, and I said, because I'm dying. I said, I can't make this anymore. So what I did, he ended up giving it back after a few months. But in that 3 months, all I did was sleep on the floor all day long. I felt too guilty laying in a bed because, hey, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be out there working.
Right.
Well, I'm laying on the floor for 3 months, and I rested up enough that I could at least, and then started going into the fall so I could kind of make it. Got the business back. But then again, for the next years.
This would have been what years?
I was 40. That's when I was 44 years old. So that was 4 years after the heat stroke.
So that's in 2002.
Yes. Anyway, so the thing is, now I had another problem coming. So when summertime comes again the next summer, now this is what I had to battle with, and I had no idea how to deal with it. So I'm sitting in church, and during the day when it gets hot, and then I go to church. By the way, I go to church at Second Baptist over here on Fry Road. Now, I've been a member there since 93, okay? But the thing is, I did not have a spiritual problem. I have my heart right with the Lord, and I live that way. But when I'm sitting in church and I'm having suicidal thoughts, I said, something's wrong.
Right.
Now, I'm like, I can't believe it. Now, the biggest problem I had, I could not concentrate long enough to pray. Could not get through a prayer. It's just like someone flipping channels on me. It's just, you start praying and all of a sudden something else pops in your head. I'm like, am I losing it? Am I going crazy? I'm like, I haven't done it. I don't know what's going on.
This is what a heat stroke will do to a man or a woman.
So the thing is, it got to the point, well, my good friend Tom Stallman says, Johnny, you got to go to the Hotze Health Wellness Center. I said, okay, Tom, that's real good. Who's going to pay for it? I can't afford, right now, I cannot afford it. Well, it got to the point I couldn't afford not to. It's like a funeral is going to be $8,000. I said, my family sure can't afford that if I go. So I'm like, I went and borrowed the money. I scrounged up money. I did everything I could to get the money. And I came to the Hotze Health and Wellness Center.
At that time, what business did you have?
I still had the septic and the porta-can business. What I had, and I had roughly at that time, I started out with 28 porta-cans and an old truck to clean septic tanks, and everything I did by hand as far as digging with a shovel, lifting the lids, hard labor. I'm talking, I was strong. I'm talking picking up 300-pound lids like it's nothing, but I'm only 5'10", 240 pounds. So you can kind of
built like a guard for the Houston, Texas.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you have a heat stroke, I couldn't pick up 50 pounds. Now and you just go to shaking. You get the tremors. Well, anyway, so the thing is.
And what were your businesses worth at that time?
At that time, I had 100 porta cans, and all the business was worth, because I couldn't hardly work, was about $100,000. That's, and you say, well, that's a lot of money. Not really.
Because you don't have cash. It's in your business.
Yeah, it's in the business. It's all tied up in $100,000. Now, that's not what I'm making. That's what it was probably totally worth. And I'm like, and
what were you making?
As far as personally, whatever,
Yeah.
I didn't take anything. I never took a paycheck. It was just, I lived off expenses and whatever I could. I'll tell you how bad it was when I was living in a tent, is that me and my daughter, we went down to the local pizza shop, and I got their leftover pizza and stuff so we can eat. That's how broke we were. I'm telling you, it was terrible. It was just bad. But the thing is, when I came to the Hotze Health and Wellness Center, and now this is what was really odd. My body was atrophying up. I had legs like a bird. It was just, there was nothing left.
And you lost weight?
Lost weight. It was just, and everybody's saying, man, are you okay? Because, it's just, I look terrible. All right. Well, anyway, went ahead and got on the program. In 1 week, now this is what's odd. In 1 week, I gained 14 pounds the first week.
He was having a failure to thrive. Most people come in, they're overweight, want to lose weight. He had atrophied because his hypothalamus wasn't working, and he wasn't able to produce his sex hormones, adrenal hormones, or thyroid hormone. He was fading away. So we put him on testosterone, on thyroid, some cortisol, got you on an eating program, got you on some good vitamins, and guess what? You're going to hear the rest of the story when we come back.
You're listening to Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution. Please stay tuned.
Why walk amongst the living sick when you can join a wellness revolution? Here's Dr. Hotze.
Here at Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution, we are on a mission to help you achieve health and wellness naturally. If you would like more information on finally becoming healthy and well, then please call one of our wellness consultants at 281-698-8698. That's 281-698-8698. Dr. Hotze.
We're visiting with John Batla. John Batla grew up in Columbus, hit on some hard times, was $180,000 in debt. A buddy of his let him live in a tent with his daughter. His wife had left him, said he was going to make nothing of himself. He lived in a tent for 2.5 years, bathed in the Colorado River. What chance does this guy have? But this guy had a work ethic. He said, honey, we're not a bum. That's a state of life. We're just broke, and that's going to end. And I'm going to work our way out of it. He worked 18 hours a day. He did it for 2.5 years, saved his money, ended up scrimping enough to start his own little business. He's in the septic tank business, in the porta-can business, started with 25 porta-cans, and then one summer he got hit and had a heat stroke. Almost killed him. 25% of the people that have heat strokes die within the first year, most within the first 3 months, but it shattered his body, particularly the area of the brain that governs temperature regulation and hormone production, and that's the hypothalamus, and he was whacked. He couldn't function. He withered down from 200 to 220 pounds down to 185 pounds. He was dying. He had suicidal thoughts. He's sitting in church at Second Baptist, a born-again believer, having his thoughts of committing suicide because he felt so terrible. And his buddy, Tom Stallman. Tell us about Tom. What did Tom tell you to do?
Well, I tell you, my good friend Tom Stallman, he says, Johnny, he said, listen, I know you don't have a spiritual problem. I know that. But what you do, you're dying. You are dying. I said, well, I know that because I'm sure not living. I can tell you that. And there's a big difference. And I said, well, the thing what I did, I went and I borrowed money from I don't know how many different places, every way I could, to get the money to come to the Hotze Center so I can get on the program. In the first week when I got on the program, I was 46 years old is when I started.
And you weighed 185 pounds.
185 pounds.
He was failing to thrive. He was losing weight. He was literally dying.
Yeah, I was 11 years ago, right at 10, 11 years ago. Anyway, I came in the first week. Now, this is what's really odd. The first week that I'm on the program, I gained 14 pounds. Now, that's 2 pounds a day. Now, it's kind of like, what is going on here? And I bird legs, had no calves or anything like this, never really did. And through the time, it took me about 3 months. My body was in such bad shape. It took me 3 months to where I really started feeling good. Takes time. Anything worthwhile takes time. You have, don't give up. Well, anyway, so once I get on the program and I'm really rolling, doing well, boy, I tell you what, here's the one thing after time, and this is after about a year, I could not believe, because it was in the wintertime now when I got started. Here comes summer. I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be, here's another bout. Well, it got 90 degrees. I had no problem. I said, well, I'm working with this. And time goes on. Summer's getting a little worse. Not having a problem. I had no problem with the heat. And all the doctors that I went to beforehand said, it's over. You cannot fix a heat stroke. I said, but I can't work. I can't take the heat. Move to Alaska. I'm like, and I mean.
That was the advice.
Well, no, I really was. And I'm kind of like, and I know he was, that's all he could tell me. I mean, what else can you do? But the problem is I couldn't take the cold either. I'm hung between a rock and a hard spot here. What do you do? Well, anyway, once I got really on the program and got to rolling, well, things really started changing. I mean, kind of drastic, really quick, because here's the thing. I'm able to think straight. I'm feeling good. Okay. I'm going to just tell a quick story that can explain how feeling good is, okay? My daughter and I and everybody back home in Columbus, hey, and everybody, you can everybody will testify. Hey, when you meet John Batla, hey, the ladies are going to get a hug and the men are going to get a handshake. Now, that's just the way it is. I mean, that's just my belief. And so anyway, I'm hugging, different people during the day, and people I've known my whole life or whatever, but hey, that's how you get a greeting around Columbus, Texas, with a hug. So I'm over there and I'm greeting a hug. And so I come home that evening, worked a long day, take a shower. I come out, into my bedroom and I'm smelling something. I'm like, what is this smell? Come to find out it was my clothes. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm hugging all these people and I smelled like this. And I put on cologne and stuff in the morning. Don't get me wrong. Hygiene is a big thing of mine. Okay. But I'm like, I was never so embarrassed in my life. And I thought about it after I got well. You don't know how bad you're hurting till you start feeling good. And when you start feeling good, it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I mean, I'm going to put it this way. I felt like dying. Ladies and gentlemen, I was dying. After I got on the Hotze Health and Wellness program, I was coming out of chute number 7. I mean, no, I'm going to tell you, no, I mean, it was, boy, here we go.
Tell them about the time you were out in the oil fields and you're moving all the porta cans and and this is after you had the heat stroke and been to see us now, and you could tolerate the heat.
I have porta cans down in Sweeney, down there in the refineries down there, and this is I'm gonna say maybe 5-6 years ago. And anyway, so the thing is, when they flare, you got to understand something. We're talking in the summer where it's roughly 110 degrees that day, but when they flare to get rid of the excess gases and all this, it can get up to 120 degrees in that plant. Now, you got to understand something. You're there in coveralls, you got a hard hat on, gloves, the whole bit because of the safety issues around there. Well, the thing is, everybody's going inside the cooling trailers, whatever. Hey, I've got work to do, and I'm working right next to my guys, and plus I didn't have anybody to help me that day, so I'm putting porta cans in that plant. Okay, so the next thing I know, and I'm dropping them in, I'm hopping and popping, and boy, I'm just a going, and here the next thing is I get a tap on my shoulder, come with me. I'm like, oh, okay, and I said, well, so he took me in. They gave me a drug test. You got to be on something. Something's wrong, and I just started laughing. I mean, I'm laughing there. Drug test came back negative. So we got 4 guys in there. All right, we want to know, what are you doing? Because there's no way it's humanly possible that anybody could be out there in that kind of heat working in the middle of the day sweating. I was like, well, I'll tell you what, I am on something, to be honest with you. But we want to know. I said, it's a Hotze Health and Wellness Center program. And I said, well, then from there for an hour and a half, I didn't get a chance to get back because they want to hear about everything. And then it kind of went from there. And so I don't know if I planted the seed. I don't know how many people, came over here. I don't know because I didn't know who I was talking to. But they could not believe how a guy that's, 50 years old that are putting people down, away 20, 25 years old or whatever, and not even being affected by it.
Now, listen, the ending of this story, or where John is now, is going to just blow your socks away. I'm telling you what. We'll be back with John Batla's ending when we come back. By the way, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, give us a call at 281-698-8698. Ask for my book. Hormones, Health, and Happiness, and you can find out how you can get your life back.
You're listening to Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution. Please stay tuned.
Now back to the Wellness Revolution. Got a question for the doc? Call him at 713-212-5950. No copay required.
Welcome back to Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution. This is Stacy Banfield with Dr. Stephen Hotze. Now, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, there is a natural way to address your health issues. Please call one of our wellness consultants at 281-698-8698. That's 281-698-8698. Dr. Hotze.
We're here with our guest of ours at the Hotze Health Wellness Center for 10 years, John Batla. Grew up in Columbus, went through a tough divorce, lost a bunch of money in a business deal, lived in a tent for 2.5 years with his daughter, worked 18 hours a day, saved enough money to start his own little business. He was believe it or not, he was in the septic tank business, in the porta can business, had a small little business, had a heat stroke. Should have killed him. 1/4 of the people about killed him, but he felt like he was dying all the time. Got to the point, and he's a Christian going to Second Baptist Church. Sitting in church, he's thinking suicidal thoughts. His buddy Tom Stallman, who's a guest here, said, John, you got to go see Dr. Hotze. Where do I get the money? Figure it out. He said, I figured out if if it wasn't that I couldn't afford it, I couldn't afford not to go. And he got money raised, came in. He saw Dr. Sheridan, and Dr. Sheridan told you what?
Well, I'll tell you, when I got my results back, let me back up a little bit. When I came in here, I was overwhelmed of how the staff is. Now, just phenomenal. I mean, everybody's nice and greeting, and I'm like, golly, this is pretty good. Am I back in Columbus, Texas, or what? We're in Houston. I mean, and everybody. And funny thing is, everybody's from everywhere. I mean, not just Texas, and from different parts of the nation and whatever. I'm like, golly, this is pretty good, Well, anyway, so I'm, kind of nervous because, you're here and you're doing something you've never done, and you really, so you come in for your results, and, after about a week, and Boy, I tell you what, I'm sitting there on pins and needles, like, just what is the results going to be? And Dr. Sheridan comes in, which is Dr. David Sheridan, and he comes in and says, he looks at me, he says, "How are you alive?" I'm like, well, what? He says, "Man, your testosterone is shot to nothing." He said, "Your adrenal glands," he said, "your triglycerides, cholesterol, everything. You just name
Thyroid
it.
was
Thyroid. I mean, like, how are you? Is your heart? He was just joking with the nurse that was in there. "Can you check his heart to make sure it's still beating?" Well, I said, well, I kind of figured that because I feel terrible. Well, I get on the program, and
with testosterone,
right.
and with thyroid, cortisol support, and the vitamin and mineral supplementation,
and
eating program.
Right. And at that time, I said, if you just tuned in, but at that time, I was only worth, with my business now, roughly about $100,000. Where people might say that's a lot of money. Well, when you got equipment stuff, it's really nothing. Well, that was roughly 10 and a half years ago that I joined the program. And I can honestly say today I have, and just porta cans, I have 22 businesses now. I have a little over 2,000 porta cans. I have 5 yards in Texas, scattered out. And my business worth right now, a little over $12 million. So it's kind of like, well, wait a minute. Now, are you on the radio wanting to brag? No, I'm not bragging, because it can be gone tomorrow if the good Lord wants it to happen. All I'm saying is this. I tell you what, the best way I can describe, let me tell you a quick story. And I went to a job, I cleaned a septic tank at this gentleman's house. And he's a older gentleman, kind of stayed to himself, whatever. And so I'm out there in the country, and anyway, I'm looking, just talk about a little bit of everything after the job was done. And he had an old tractor sitting there, and wasn't an old tractor, but it's a real good tractor, huge, but good tractor, 85 horsepower, if that means anything to you. But the thing is, he had a little old 6-foot disc behind it. And I'm like, that's kind of like, swatting a fly with a sledgehammer, isn't it? I mean, you got a 85 horse tractor pulling a 6-foot disc. And this gentleman, you got to understand, now this was a long time ago, and this is about the way everybody was out there. And he says, well, because being German and Czech out there in that part of the country, which, trust me, I understand, I'm a translator for most people. He's out there, well, that's about all that tractor can pull. And I'm not making fun of the gentleman. I'm telling you, I talked like that when I was a kid. I said I had to kind of brush it up a little bit. But I said, well, let me check out. So I'm a mechanic too. I said, let me check this tractor out for you. I said, have you changed the fuel filters on it lately? He said, yeah. Well, I went to checking the whole thing. His injection pump, he bought it used. The injection pump was turned down so low, he was only getting maybe 45, 50 horsepower. I put the horsepower back to where it was. I opened up the fuel on it, which what I did. Now, I'm not talking about overboosting it. I'm talking about putting it back where 100% we're supposed to be. And went home. I got a 12-foot disc of my own, brought it up there and showed him how I pulled it. The man was devastated and sick. He said for all those 15 years they bought it, he didn't even realize he couldn't do the work he wanted to do. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm getting at is this right here. Give your body at least 100% chance to thrive. Now, don't get me wrong. When you're 20 years old, you have a level, 30, 40, 50. But if you're 50 years old or 40 or 30, at least get your body at 100%. Because then the problem is that when you feel bad, you go to the doctor. And the thing is, they're diagnosing you. Well, this is common sense for me, but how do you diagnose someone when you don't know what you're diagnosing? Because they have all these problems, when all the problem you may have is a hormonal problem.
Low testosterone, low thyroid, low adrenal.
Which, okay, now, once you get on this program, ladies and gentlemen, listen to what I'm saying. Once you get on this program, then if you still feel bad, which I doubt you will, but if you still feel bad, now get re-diagnosed. You may have something else, but at least you're playing with a full deck. It's just not fair. You got to get your body straight, to make it to work right. That's all there is to it. And but anyway, I can't wait. The only problem, Dr. Hotze says, well, John, do you have any side effects now or anything? I said, Dr. Hotze, the only problem I have now is that I can't wait to get up in the morning. I can't sleep because I want to go to work so bad in the morning. I can't sleep at night because I can't wait to get up and go to work. Well, now, you fix that. I think we might have something, So, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say this. This is not the fountain of youth or, I'm going to die someday just like everybody else. But what I'm saying, give your body a chance. Give yourself a chance. Just get yourself right. And if you still feel bad, go check it out a little more. But I'll tell you what, Your life will change. You're going to make great decisions. Now, the one thing that I want to share with everybody is this. I'm self-employed. I understand that. And I, you can, when you're self-employed, you can do as much as you want. But here's the other thing. If you work on commission, I guarantee you, you will, within a matter of time, you will double or triple your commission. Here's the other one. Not everybody works on commission. You may be an employee somewhere and you have a job. Well, I'm going to tell you something, what I learned a long time ago when the IRS at the end of the year asked me, he doesn't ask me on that paper what I make per hour. He asked me what I did that year. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're an employee and you work 8 to 5 and you can't make it, this will give you enough energy to go get a second job to make it. I'm not talking about a second job for the rest of your life, but it'll at least give you that boost to make that money to give what you need to do. You get on this program, you're going to think clear. You're going to start feeling good. The decisions you make will be good. You may not be making the right decisions at the right time because you feel bad. That's probably all I can tell you. Hang with me. Hey, I'll make you feel good. We'll sit around and talk and laugh, So I go to a party. I don't drink. Well, I don't need to. Everybody thinks I'm drunk anyway. That's the problem. So it's kind of one of those situations.
Well, let me tell you what. If you could meet John Batla in person, and everybody should, he is a character, incredible character, individual who's got so much enthusiasm for life, commitment to his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, commitment to help his staff and his people, and a desire to be industrious and work hard. The Bible says the hand of the diligent will prosper, and this man's been diligent. He's been faithful to God. He's raised his daughter faithfully, and let me just tell you what, God's blessed him. He went from being $100,000 net worth 10 years ago. Now he's worth $12 million. He had 2 businesses. Now he has 22 businesses. And you're in cattle and ranching and farming.
I build and sell airboats. I have a helicopter service. I have a roofing contract business. We do, like I said, Porta Cans of septic. I have a trucking company. I have a catering business. I love to cook. So, it goes on and on.
Listen, if you want to get your life back and want to be like half of what John Batla is, and if you'd be the best guy you know, call 281-698-8698, 281-698-8698. Ask for my book, Hormones, Health, and Happiness.
Have a great weekend.
Provided on this radio program is neither intended nor implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice and is not intended to replace the services of a physician, nor does it constitute a doctor-patient relationship. You should not use information from this radio program to diagnose or treat a health problem or disease without consulting with a qualified healthcare provider. If you have or suspect you have an urgent medical problem, promptly contact a professional healthcare provider or call 911. Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution radio program advises you to always seek the advice of a physician or other qualified health provider prior to starting any new treatment or with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Any application of the recommendations from this radio program is at the listener's discretion.